links and stuff up and around. So, hello, weird people who join us literally the very second that.
Is that true? Have we already got people here?
It does happen pretty quickly, which is quite nice.
Also, hello to the strange people who are already here. proto lurkers.
Highly up and around. Highly skilled. Okay, so hello, weird people who join us. All right, so if I go onto my Twitter, which is in my Safari, because I'm now one of those Mac people.
It's a difficult transition.
It's the only one that will handle the horrible way I put prototype games around. So me and see. Okay, so I've just put the link on my Twitter and let me put it on the chat. So if I do private chat, that's the link to the video page. So you got it?
Cool. Lovely. And what I might do is I might just comment tweet that, because I think that's...
Yeah.
Oh my God, what did I just do?
Okay.
Cool.
All right. We are live. We are indeed live.
Excellent.
And I just realized it's my friend Rain's birthday, so I need to message them. That's what happens when you don't log into Facebook until like 7 o'clock in the evening.
I mean, I try and avoid it, generally speaking.
Yeah. Same here. It's for the best. All right, so comments. So a nice thing that we can do is when comments pop up, I can just click this button and they will appear like that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So that's quite cool.
That's very cool. This is absolutely pro chatting.
Isn't it? That's the only problem is it's just got me at the driving wheel, which is like not a great thing. Anyway, let's do an introduction because it is that time and there are indeed people watching. Hello, nice viewers. Good evening, guys, gals, non-binary pals. It is Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock UK time, and it is time for another Hub Games team talk. This time with a very stripped down team. The team being, well, me. Hello. I'm Michael. Hi. And I have a special, awesome, wonderful, and lovely guest. It is Chris Eggett, the editor of Tabletop Gaming Magazine, as you can see from the library of magazines behind him. It's all good. Thanks for coming on, man. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It was very much a last-minute extravaganza. Sort of like I got a message on Friday from Rory, who, of course, you know, is the boss along with Anita, his wife. He's going, "Can you do the show next week? Because I'm on holiday." And it's like, what? Okay. Is anybody else available? No. Can I call in some friends? Yes. Okay, let's go. So yeah, man, it is much appreciated. So thank you so much. It's right, and we do have people in already. So we've got Yos is our Yos is ridiculously regular, not in like a toilet way, but in just like an always here way. And this is the level of quality that you'll be able to expect from the next hour or so, Chris. And
I'm so happy the bar has been set at something I can achieve.
So, guys, before we go into sort of like the wonderful world of Tabletop Magazine stuff, and sort of like games, sort of like writing and journalism in a bit more of an in-depth thing, because that is what today's topic is going to be about. Tell us, how are you surviving the world at the minute?
Pretty good, actually. Considering, I mean, I think for all the COVID-19 coronavirus stuff, lockdown, all of that stuff, it's actually not been a terrible time for board gamers. I think it's a terrible time to be trying to publish board games, obviously. So heart goes out to the publishers and
Tell me about
it. But in terms of being a board gamer, I think we've all come to a point where we're accepting a slowdown in the way we run our lives because of lockdown. Whether that's because maybe your partner's been furloughed or similar, or generally you're working from home, you've suddenly got hours back in your day, and I think that kind of actually works with a lot of analog gaming. The other thing is, of course, a lot of people have suddenly discovered that they really like playing RPGs over Zoom. So that's an extra joy for everyone. So yeah, it's been quite good. So me personally, the only real bane in my life is the impossibility of reviewing a game that has a starting player cap of 3 people, because that's become you can't socially distance play a board game, a worker placement game, except maybe something like Flying Goblin or something like that, which uses a small catapult to throw goblins into a castle. You can still consider that worker placement, but
it's not the most sort of like exacting worker placement. I'm imagining it's rather sort of like rough placement.
It's got, it's spiritually got a Hungry Hippos vibe.
What the hell is this game?
Okay. So Flying Goblin it's an Aiello title.
Okay.
By the way, I will say the name of every publisher wrong. By the way, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Probably including my own. Yeah. So it's a wonderful in the box game where you can literally take the lid off, take a couple of pieces out, and then you got the game set up, which is a favorite trend of mine maybe these days. So it's an in the box game, and then you spend your turn literally using a tiny like catapult. I wish I had it here to show you because they're really lovingly made catapults.
Is it like the old 80s game, like the crossbows and catapults kind of vibe? That sort of plastic band and
sort of, no, because it's they're actually like seesaws. They've clearly been engineered to a point where they know exactly the kind of ranges you're going to be hitting, because things don't go flying as much as you expect. Anyway, it's just there's a load of areas, sort of holes in the castle that you can fire your goblins into, and you're trying to build a totem on the outside of it. So obviously you're trying to aim to hit other people's totems down, because the one who completes their totem wins the game. So it's got a nice sort of push and pull about it, and it's very silly, very light, and maybe years and years ago it would have been a classic family game that everyone would have in their cupboard, but we've got so many interesting things to play. I think it's just been like quite well received. I thought
have you found your plays since lockdown have been sort of like tending more towards the light side? I definitely have in my house.
I mean, so we so we've got a 5-month-old daughter. So most games we have to play, unless we're very lucky, we play them passing a baby back and forth.
Okay.
So, which means that games that have very strong, robust like rule sets, that you can keep the thread of what's going on in between a baby shouting, are particularly useful in that regard. But in truth, I've been playing a lot of solo games, which has allowed me to go completely wild and play completely mad, unwieldy things. I don't know if I'm going to lean the right way here. So I've got this Planet Apocalypse behind me, which is
Mhm.
the new Sandy Peterson. I soloed that, and that's yeah, just a wild, complex. Well, it's not that complex, but it's sort of a wild, expansive game that's going to take up your whole table. But because there's no way we were going to be able to play that 2-player, so the review that's coming is going to be a solo one. And yeah, so there's been lots of like solo play, and been playing RPGs online and stuff like that. So complexity's not gone down that much, but there has certainly been more joy found in simpler games, I think.
I'm down with that. I mean, I find it very difficult to play solo games. I have tried, and I've actually ended up streaming a few of them. Like I did The Quiet Year, which was really enjoyable. Actually, no, that's probably the wrong way to describe it. So, like, The Quiet Year being sort of, hey, it's a post-human society, and you're just trying your best to survive. Describing that as enjoyable is, probably incorrect. But it was certainly, it was a good experience.
Yeah,
I guess. But I'm finding it sort of like difficult to sort of get the big table downstairs. Like I think every gamer has the big table, and at the minute, because there's 3 of us in our house, the big table is always full of everybody's stuff. So actually, sort of like trying to clear off and doing something like I see. So you've got a copy of New Dale behind you, which is soloable,
and quite good at that, actually.
Yeah, I love Oh My Goods. It's like one of my favorite games of all time, and the solo mode in that's pretty good. It's one of the solos I can tolerate, kind of. But yeah, it's just sort of like, do I really want to spend 25 minutes setting this thing up, and then I need to go through the rule book, and then I need to do it, and it's like I could just sit down and play Binding of Isaac again, like on the PS4. Because I've just finished Persona 5 Royal as well on PS4, so that was 112 hours of my life, which ate a lot of lockdown for me, which was quite nice. But now I've finished it, it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to sort of do something else now.
I think
worrying.
So just to diverge briefly to the to digital games, which are allowed sometimes, I suppose.
Oh yes, of course.
Me and my dear brother, we've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 3 and sort of doing runs together.
Nice.
And doing silly things like wearing all the heaviest armor from the beginning and stuff like that, so that so you drop stuff in from other characters and stuff, so that you can do these sort of thematic plays, which are stupid and impossible, and sort of challenge runs and stuff like that. And it's been really good. It's been really good. I think maybe Persona, or maybe more like Binding of Isaac, actually, for you, it's one of those things where you realize you've got to an age where when it comes to video games, it's kind of like maybe one game for you for maybe the next few years. They might bring out another one, but you kind of settled to like, this is my game now. This is the game.
I have a few of them, and I sort of like bounce between them. So they're like slipping on a comfortable pair of shoes. So like over 4 or 5 different formats, I've probably got over like 1,000, maybe 1,200 hours of Isaac played. And I hadn't touched it for like, let's say 3 months. And then like yesterday, I just sort of like went, do you know what? I think I'll give Isaac a shot again. And I sort of like straight back in it with like lightning straight down the middle in the zone, all the way through the secret endings. And it's just like, yeah, okay, I can still play this. I'm fine. I'm good. But yeah, between that, a game that's much loved between the in the board gaming community, Slay the Spire. So it's a roguelike deck builder. So it generates a completely random game every time you play it, and it is very, very well loved because it has that tabletop feel, and it also does a daily run as well. So it'll give you a daily challenge that you can go up against and sort of like try and beat everybody else. But yeah, I am also a Dark Souls boy. Yeah, all the way back to Demon Souls on the PS3. I remember importing it from Japan like a complete loser, and then only being able to play in the Japanese servers. desperately trying to communicate.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not sure that was the way I would choose to play it. But I mean, okay. So this is a strange one, but the order I played them in was Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, 3, and then 1. I don't know if that's ever. Apparently, that's a weird order to do things in.
I think it's entirely acceptable.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I usually get a strong reaction to that.
No, I think as long as you're playing Dark Souls, then you're okay in my book. That's fine. Although I did see a very weird. So the modding community is wild on Dark Souls, and I did see one that I read about. I think it was yesterday, but I think it was Dark Souls. It's either 2 or 3, but someone has done a mod where from the very beginning, the first weapon you pick up is a rifle.
Okay.
And it just turns the game into just something completely laughable.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't want that. I don't think.
No, you want the challenge. You want the
yeah.
You want the dance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I was ever going to try a mod on any of them, it would be Dark Souls 2, because that's kind of feels like the most garbagey in a good way. It's like the trashiest one of it. I think a mod where like you have everything or something like that would really suit that. I really like Dark Souls 2, but yeah, and I quite like the board game, even though it came in for quite a lot of criticism when it first landed. I know they revamped it, and I think I probably only played the revised rules, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I liked the Bloodborne card game as well, Eric Lang's one. You know, there's definitely like a lot in there, a lot in that world, or rather in those worlds, because obviously Bloodborne and Dark Souls are 2 completely separate universes, but still similar sort of vibes. But there's so much lore in there, and so many different things that you could sort of like take and transfer into into a tabletop thing. Not that anybody that we know has taken some sort of video game and tried to turn it into a tabletop thing, but we're not allowed to talk about that. So, although you did see it at Aircon.
I did see that. Yes, I can't remember how to describe it without saying the thing I'm not meant to say. Or shall we not?
We can. It's fine. It's fine. It's like it's not human, and it's not Norting. And now people know.
Yes.
So sensible. So sensible. So tell us a couple of things. What else have you been has been hitting your table? So give me the boy who can't do soloing because his concentration is wrecked. Give me something that I can go and I can go.
So I would say probably the best game I've played this year, even though it actually came out last year in its initial run. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be relaunched by Mythic again this year, because I don't think it sold as many copies as expected. Is Rurik?
Okay.
Which is this one here, I think. Yes, there we go. I'm leaning in the right direction. So that is what I now know because of speaking to the lads behind Undaunted is known as a Waro. Yeah, so a Eurogame war game. Thing. And it is literally probably the most elegant game I've played, except for maybe something like Undaunted. And it's what it is a it's war in 10th century Kievan Rus, which is sort of Russia, Belarus, and somewhere else important I've forgotten the name of. That's I mean, I wrote about it last month. That's ages ago.
So long ago.
This issue. Here we go. There you go. Ooh, there. And yeah. So what it is a so it's area control. You move little men on a board, which is all very pleasing. You take control of areas. You can build things in those areas once you're there, and that gets you more points at the end of each round. Or it helps you meet criteria, which lets you move up a track, which is how you win the game because it's a Euro game. but the way it's all played really is on a smaller board. Called the it uses something called action programming or auction programming. I've not decided which one it should be called because it is both. So you are programming your actions, and it is an auction to do so. So you put down a little meeple on the board under move or fight or muster, and the top of that row will be you get 3 moves, say, and then below that will be 2, and then below that will be less. So you place your chaps on there. Each of your advisors, I think they're called, is numbered as well. So a 5 is obviously weightier than a 4. So if you've got a 4 in that column and I put a 5 there, you shift down 1 in that pecking order. But the thing is, what you're doing is you're going to take these actions in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you have is this perfectly contained way to force people to be strategic and tactical about what they actually want to do. And I think one of the great sort of I'm going to say sins, but it's not really. One of the difficulties everyone has or with Eurogames is that there's always the feeling of oh damn, I should have done that already. And so 2 turns ago you should have made a strategic choice about about where your turns are going over the next few turns.
It's that there's never enough time to do everything you want to do.
Exactly.
And you are always filled with regret for the things that you have done and haven't done. A good Euro should always make you feel like that.
Yeah. But this kind of helps you kill that very quickly because you are because it forces you into strategy mode at the start of each turn. And then it all plays out on the board, and then you sort of work out what's going on. And obviously, your opponents don't know where you're going to move or where you're going to attack or anything like that. So sharing that information isn't sensitive at all either. So it's highly strategic, and it's probably one of the best things I've played, especially as like a duel. Very good for a 2-player game. And there is a excellent solo mode as well, which uses bandits and a bit of simple AI. I mean, I don't know if you've. I mean, I'm sure you've played Villagers, haven't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever played the solo mode of that?
I have not. No, but there is a copy sitting downstairs that would be ready to roll. It's the one you go up against the Queen over the seasons, yeah,
and the Countess. Sorry, I'm just going to take a small drink of water.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm trying to do that off mic. So that has one of the best things I think in solo gaming, which is and something that all good solo games should do, which is the cardboard villain cheats, which means that you don't have to do any maths for them. You don't have to take their turn. You don't have to be 2 people or anything like that. You don't have to think about what's best for them particularly. In fact, you the things you do for them, you can try your best to hinder their experience. And the interesting thing about the Countess is because of the way she cheats and the way she kind of taxes you and the way she might steal your villagers and things like that, it puts the whole game in the sense of this kind of like class struggle thing, which is really interesting. You're sort of like by the end of it, you're either like ready to overthrow her or at least unionize, so so there are a couple of things I've recently been sort of delving into, especially in the solo realm.
All right, I hereby, Michael's honor, promise to give the Villager solo mode a go the minute I can find some space on the table. At the minute, it is an absolute trash heap. My wife is okay. So she's currently in the middle of putting a video together. She does doll customization, so she takes like stuff like Monster High dolls or Barbies or whatever, and then completely factory resets them and remakes them to look like like Persona characters or Animal Crossing characters or things like that, which is incredible. But she's just about to launch a YouTube channel, so at the minute everything is just dolls and sewing machines and bits. So I just need a small corner just so I can put some cards out.
Well, Villagers, one of the tidiest boxes in the business. Yes,
isn't it?
It needs so much space.
Yeah, it's so lovely. I mean, I picked it up at UK Games Expo last year. I just bought the standard game, but they also had like the fancy box with the wooden coins and the extra Kickstarter cards and stuff. Yeah. So the Friday I bought the game. The Friday night, me and a bunch of friends played it. I went, "This is really good, like really, really good." So I went back on the Saturday and picked up all of the extra stuff because it's just. I always like if there's a game that sort of like hits me really, really hard, like in a good way, hits me here, whatever. I always want to make sure that if I know that I'm going to be getting it to the table as often as I think it's going to happen, I always want to make sure that the experience is going to be the nicest it can be. And it's also good to like, fling a few extra quid at, at the publishers, because I know how expensive publishing games can be and how expensive running shows is. So, an extra 10 or 20 quid here is always good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also I'd just say that coin box, I look at that and I just think that is useful in so many situations. There's so many games you can just swap out those coins and happily use some nice wooden coins.
Yes, it is beautifully designed, and just the way everything slots in together, and even just organizing and sorting out the cards into their, with the little dividers was beautiful. Now we will talk about the magazine and writing in general in a moment, but we do have a question from Jos who says, "Did you guys play Under Falling Skies?"
I didn't.
I have not played it yet. Paul Grogan, yes. So Paul Grogan, off of Gaming Rules, he did his online GridCon online event last weekend, I think it was, and he played through it a couple of times. I also saw a very, very early version of it last year in Germany. So we went on a sort of a little media weekend for Asmodee in this. How to describe it? They had basically all of the most powerful people from Asmodee Europe, all across Europe, and they all came over to see all of the new games that were coming out for like the next 18 months. So me and Rory went over with one of the first copies of Megacity Oceania, and showing it off to all people there. But Under Falling Skies was there, and it was one of those sort of like dark horse, like, holy crap, this is really, like, the rumors that were going around, the chat was going around was like really, really good. But yeah, we were all in this sort of like very utilitarian German youth hostel, drinking Radler, and just trying to work out what was going on. But apparently, Yossa said you can print it from the CGE website.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, and that's definitely soloable as well. So, all right, might give that a shot. We shall see.
I desperately need to get the printer in my life, actually, because there's the Tales from the Loop board game. And the files are there to print right now if you want to try it, which I do. I'd like to try that. But I just haven't got around to committing to an actual printer in my life. So
I did crack. I bought one a couple of weeks ago because just for prototyping at home. I've been designing a lot. I kind of set myself a challenge of designing a new game from the ground up every week. So starting from concept and going all the way through to first prototype, just to keep my brain going while I've been on furlough. And it's been interesting. But yeah, I tried sort of like prototyping a lot more on Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia. But there's nothing better than just sort of like, getting your hands dirty basically and starting chopping up hundreds of cards. And it's nice.
Can you? I mean, would you be able to tell us anything about any of those games? I love hearing the really, really early concepts of anything.
Yeah.
I once sat down with James Naylor to talk about Magnate, and he one of the lines that came out of his So what was that? Yeah, you hate him so much, or you love him so much?
Yeah, no, it's so good. Magnate is so good. Like I really want a copy of it.
Yeah. But he said to me, I want to make a card game but just around the concept of one-turn kills. Which I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Just so anything like that always tickles me, just because your brain immediately wanders off into what could it be. So can you tease us?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to anybody about anything I make. So this is my work pad that does everything on it. So stuff that I have done in the last few weeks includes that's when I played The Quiet Year.
Oh, I see.
Because I decided to color it all in because I'm an idiot. There you go. Game designs. Let's have a look. A pick up and deliver card drafting train game.
I like that.
So that would be a 3-phase thing where the first phase is you're all building the network collectively with sort of like a draft. Then you start phase 2 is like building and then also moving your trains, and then phase 3 is build or move. So that's sort of like you can sort of like get yourself out of some trouble. So that was week 1. Solo rules for Flip Over Frog.
Oh, very good. Oh, how's that going to work? Oh, no, hold on. How's that going to work?
Well, that will be going up on the site hopefully in a couple of days' time.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, I just wanted to sort of like make a weird little puzzle version of it. So you have to try and get as many of your frogs face up at the end of the game.
I would say I really like that game. That goes into my. But it goes into that category of games where it's one of the games where you think, yeah, this is for kids, right?
Yeah.
And then you play it with a few adults. Really, really quite confrontational.
Yeah.
About the moves you're making. And I think there's a whole Hey, That's My Fish. Was recommended by the Undaunted chaps as technically an abstract war game.
I am here for it. Yes. That and Lupin Louie, the most devastating dexterity game.
I don't know that. What is Lupin Louie?
Lupin Louie is it's a motorized aeroplane on an arm, but the back of the arm is weighted. And then you have each player has a hen house with 3 little chicken tokens sitting on top of the roof. And the plane goes around, just motorized, blah, 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 blah. But just before your hen house, you have a little... Remember you were talking about the little seesaws for the Goblin game earlier? Yeah. If you tap it at the right time, the other end of the seesaw goes up and that knocks the bottom of the aeroplane. And then the aeroplane, because it's all weighted, starts going looping all the way around. And it is so good. So they did a Star Wars version of it a couple of years ago called Lupin Chewie that everybody went crazy over. But with Lupin Louie, it's 4 players instead of 3. But you can also, if you are super hardcore, put 2 sets together and have 8 players, and it's brutal. It's so good. And it's if ever there was a game built for just late night tournament play, it's Lupin Louie. It's horrifying. Other stuff, Dinosaur Body Snatchers. That's one. So a spiritual...
I think the Jurassic Park films showed us that dinosaurs do like to snatch bodies, but I don't know if it's in the sense of what you've written down.
So the idea behind that one is I was listening to a whole bunch of podcasts about the Bone Wars. Basically, a bunch of early to mid-Victorian era scientists who just decided to go to war against each other in America, trying to get as many different dinosaur bones as possible and discover as many dinosaurs as they could, but really did it badly. So they just made up loads of really, really bad mistake dinosaurs, like putting half of a flying one together with half of a land one. It's just like, this is definitely a dinosaur. It's fine.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So that's all good. But yeah, that was cool. I have designed a spiritual sequel to Megacity called Mega Planners. There's a Eurovision game that I did. And the one I'm working on this week is called Monster Hospital, where you, because I was listening to an album by a band called Metric, which has a song on it called Monster Hospital. And I just went, all right, so what would that look like?
Yeah. What happened to them? That was 2006 or something, wasn't it? That's a long time.
Yeah, and they did a bunch of the music for the Scott Pilgrim movie.
Was that
as
right?
well.
Yeah.
God, they were good. Fine band. Anyway, let's talk about magazines. Finally, over half an hour into the call. So you are the editor of Tabletop Gaming Magazine, as we can see, beautifully laid out behind you there. But you are relatively new to the fold, because of course Matt Jarvis was your predecessor, who is now with Dicebreaker.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, obviously, people can't say his name in the office without bursting to flame. But
yeah, that's he's dead to us all. So,
that's great. And Dicebreaker is pretty decent. They're doing some really interesting stuff over there. But yeah, I'm relatively recent to it. I think I've done something like 7 issues or something like that, 7 or 8 issues. And I've come to board gaming from a very, like, I guess, casual place. So like, your sort of your usual sort of Carcassonne and Catan and that sort of thing. And then almost all of my exposure to board games is from people just having the game around them. I mean, I think I've kind of accidentally played half of the Spiel des Jahres. Again, I won't say that right. Winners in the past, because they all sit in that sort of nice family game sort of area, Camelot, and Agricola. I can't remember that one actually. Agricola, stuff like that. And yeah, so I came in from that sort of very Eurogaming sort of gateway sort of realm, and then was just absolutely blown away by what was available to me. As many people are when they actually enter the hobby properly, and yeah, so it's been an interesting learning curve for me, because I'd never played a role-playing game until I took on this job, and it turns out I love it. It's one of the best ways to spend your time, frankly. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of my background in a a way, and how I
What
came to be.
What did you do before? Like, were you contributing to
my-
the magazine previously?
No,
Or
in my previous life, I was I did a series of sort of marketing jobs. But things that sort of PR and content led. So I sort of looked after writers and stuff like that for various editorial websites and that sort of thing. So, but it was all very digital based. So moving to print was really interesting, and it's one of the pure joys of the job is that every month I can technically finish my job for that month. Which sounds kind of fun. Which sounds kind of funny.
Only so many pages, I guess, and it's just sort of like, all right,
it's all there. It's done. It could all be done, So that's on a personal level. That's one of the things I gain great joy out of. But yeah, so that's where I came from for into this, and obviously I've been personally I've done a lot of short story writing, poetry, that sort of thing. Usual nonsense. And I used to run a literary newsletter as well, where I ran it for a couple of years, and I think I managed to do it every single Friday. I'd write a newsletter about basically what's going on in literary Twitter and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where my writing pedigree comes from, if indeed I have one. But yeah, so that's kind of me in terms of that. But I think more generally, there is kind of a question of like, what is games journalism? Because I I think there is for people uninitiated into the hobby world of games, they think that there's kind of like Articulate, Monopoly, and the rest, and then how could you possibly?
Yeah, you see those articles every sort of like late November, early December. It's the games that you and your family should be playing, and every year it's always the same ones because the people who are doing the writing just they don't need to because Articulate, Monopoly, and Cluedo are still all available, so they can just right. We're just going to update it. Does it have a new cover? Nah, fine. All right, sweet. Then we'll just go. And that's another. It's a 2-page spread done, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think so for a lot of people they're very confused as to how this magazine exists, and I tell them that there's we've reviewed like 29 new games this month in it, and there was room for more. There wasn't room for more that we also played. And it's endless, and there's so much. And yeah, so and the other thing is like I like to think that a bit like sort of new games journalism for video games, you're sort of looking at kind of elevating the hobby slightly, or at least respecting people's time and enjoyment of it. It's something we kind of take seriously. We're quite, we have fun, we're silly, we have lots of jokes, but generally you just want to say that like, yes, you enjoying a board game is like a proper use of your time, and your engagement with that culture is decent, and we are a great magazine to read. If you want to further that engagement, find out more about the people who make them, and also read 30 reviews or something every month.
The magazine isn't just about reviews. I mean, there are other there are other magazines available around the world that do specialize very much in here is a whole raft of written reviews, and away you go. But the one thing that I very much enjoy about the magazine, and this is not me kissing your butt, is the the more in-depth articles. The fact that you're not afraid to like go off on a 4-page extravaganza about LARPing, or it's there is always such like a wide variety of articles in the magazine between month to month to month. And that range of diversity, I think, is not only interesting and entertaining, but it's also vital. Just to show people that you might just like to play, solid 2-hour Euros, but hey, maybe this might interest you, or maybe this might interest you. And all it is the investment of like a few quid to buy the magazine and a little bit of your time to actually like to read through.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of games have wonderful stories behind them anyway. Most recent issue, we've got Mariposas on the cover, which is Elizabeth Hargrave's most recent game, and that's about a 3,000-mile migration of butterflies over multiple generations. And because this Elizabeth Hargrave, she spends time making sure she's modeling kind of the metaphors within the game. So you actually you see the way you kind of spread out over the map and then back again, as like through different generations, modeled in there in a way that's kind of like really nice and elegant. So we've got that side of our features, and we've also got the bit where we ask her, does a butterfly remember being a caterpillar? And so we're not that serious, but we like to make sure that we do dive deep into these things, and hopefully leave people like fully informed and like able to think about their hobby in a way that lets them feel like they can talk about it with their friends at like an I'm gonna say academic level, but that's not right at all. But like they're allowed to talk about the concepts of it. You're allowed to talk about how the game makes you feel. If the game makes you feel good, you should have a way of articulating that. And I think that's important. It's not just because you won, which is like an arbitrary thing that happens in games at the end, that we all kind of, most of us who play a lot of games, actually we're not that worried about winning or losing in the end. It's more about how it felt getting there. You know, those tortured Eurogame moments of I should have done something earlier, or like this Planet Apocalypse game just behind me, whose review I wrote earlier. You know, is big stupid fun in the best possible way. You know, and yeah, there's something in games because they are kind of producty. You know, it's like a product design. We sometimes feel a bit bad about enjoying them as much as we do, and so just knowing that there's these games that, you know, and I think of it as it lights your brain up with like fairy lights or something when you do something. When you finally understand the full mechanisms of a Euro game and you really get it and you make a really good turn, you feel great. You know, and trying to find the ways to articulate these things and work out what it is you like, and then help you find more games that are like that. Because I think it's very easy to get stuck in a rut of the things you like. But if you just dip into the magazine, you're always going to find something that you didn't know you were interested in, or a different path through it, through gaming that you were unaware of. In the same way you might have, you know, in the early 2000s, been looking down like genre lists and things like that for music to, you know, probably pirate, to be honest. But
we all remember those glorious days of LimeWire and Compare.
You know, but you were, you know, trying to find, you know, oh, this you know, this label does this certain kind of game, and that's really interesting. So I'm going to go find everything they do, you know, and that sort of stuff. And we feature indie games, feature big games, you know, and we're there really just to help people broaden their sort of the way they engage with games, as well as deepen it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I also like about the magazine as well is obviously a lot of us, myself included, are, you know, we would often consider ourselves fully paid up members of like the cult of the new. We always want to see what the next game is, what the next big thing that we, you know, everybody else is playing, so we should be playing it too. But I really like the fact that the magazine also dips into history, for example. I particularly like James Wallace has done the regular series of just like playing through all the Spiel des Jahres winners and looking back at them with sort of like the modern sort of critical eye, which I very much like. I mean, James is one of my favorite people in games ever. He's just this most English of gentlemen. Weirded the hell out of me when I found out he went to school with Boris Johnson. Very, very odd.
Oh no!
The stories but yeah, it's been lovely sort of like having him go back to like all these classic games and going, Niagara's not that great, mate. Sorry, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. I think, do you know what? We've actually got a nice feature, five whole pages covering every single all the R's that he's done. So this coming issue is the one to pick up if you want to know which ones were actually good or not. Because the thing he does, because obviously, you know, James is wonderful. He's very funny as well. That's it's one of the great joys of my job is that, although not for very long, because actually leaving us to join the mighty Asmodee in the form
of going to Green Board Games, isn't he? So
which I'm really interested in because. So they've got, I think it's, is it Brainbox? I think are the titles.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. And James has sort of got a particular interest in like learning games. And I think that's something that he sort of comes back to a lot. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he takes that. And privately he's told me some other really exciting stuff that I cannot possibly tell you. So and I'm sure, well, maybe you'll possibly already know as well. But anyway, yes, we've got a wonderful rundown of every title up until this point. And what James does is he gives you the answer to the question: is was it a worthy winner at the time, and should you play it now? And so often you find the judges made a kind of weird decision, And
yeah.
when you see them all together, as I have very, very recently, you're like, oh, that was absolutely a reaction to the previous year. Because I think it was Catan then El Dorado. I think they were the winners. I think that's right. I might have got that slightly wrong. But obviously El Dorado is suddenly, so they got Catan, and obviously they basically, as far as most people are concerned, they created board games at that point.
Not remembering there's like another 21 previous winners going for like Hare and Tortoise in 76.
Exactly. By the lovely David Bartlett, and who also writes the magazine in the excellent Tabletop Time Machine. But anyway, yes, and the comment is that the jury seemed to have just gone, okay, we've got everyone on board, right? Here's this really much more complicated game, right? Here you go, you're ready now, and they sort of clearly rushed it as the family game, which is not. And then obviously recent winners like Just One, you might say is light to the point of flimsiness, even, and so we do this sort of historical dives, and we also do and we have an interesting little one pager, which is around the world in 80 plays, which is kind of board games of the world. And this is another one of those things where you're kind of getting a list of games that all come from the same place or the same background or same game sort of stable in some way, and you start making these little connections that all these Czech games have all similar flavors, or all these Polish games have all similar flavors. We don't just do Europe, to be clear. We do go everywhere.
There are other countries. Other countries are available.
The Malaysia one is very, very good because it dove. It went really deep. It went really deep into the print and play culture that they have there, which is the primary form of hobbyist games in Malaysia. But yeah, so we have all these different ways of getting in or thinking about games that you don't possibly get through other mediums, or you can scroll the Board Game Geek top 100 by theme, category, etc. as much as you like, but it doesn't tell you how you're going to feel when you play it usually. You have to get 14 comments deep into a thread about actually the rules, but it turns out eventually they said something that sells you the game. We're kind of getting into there straight away.
And this is why print media is very useful. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, no, it isn't. I think there's, a lot of people play games, the analog games, to avoid screens a little bit more. And I know certain friends of mine who just said no more video games. It's just I'm just going to give up on them. I don't want to keep up. I don't want to have a Xbox that hasn't got 300 and something in it. I don't want to start again. And they've just stuck with analog games. And for those people, having an analog medium to read it in as well just helps you retain that part of your life that isn't ruled by screens and keyboards and messages and notifications.
I mean, okay, this is going to maybe be a little bit too much information, but there is an innate pleasure of just sitting in the bath, just reading through a magazine. It's just.
Can we just lower the tone immediately? Yeah. Tabletop Gaming is an excellent loo read. I'm sorry to say it.
The world's second best loo read after The Velvet Underground. Oh yeah.
Of course.
That wasn't even a joke. That was terrible. No, there's nothing like this. There's nothing wrong with reading on the toilet, and everybody flicks through their phones. That's fine. Why not bring in a copy of the fine, high quality Tabletop Gaming Magazine and
lots of long reads, lots of short reads. It's whatever you're in for. It's we're there for you. I mean, I might get a phone call later about the way I've brought the magazine into disrepute, but that's been my goal all along. So here we are.
Yeah. Finally, your mission accomplished. It's all good. Do you keep an eye on like other gaming magazines from around the world? Do you ever read any other ones?
So I do try and read Spielbox.
Mm.
That's
do you see that as any sort of level of inspiration? Because obviously Spielbox has been around for donkey's years. Do you see it as any sort of like level of inspiration, or
not particularly. I think we take our cues come from, to be honest, in terms of the way we write about games, comes from video game journalism, things like Edge and stuff like that. That's kind of where we're kind of where we fit in the universe. Spielbox is like, it's kind of got a community element about it almost, because it is this absolute info dump, and I find it quite charming, but I don't think my designer would allow me to have a review that goes on to the next page and then just down the edge of that page before starting. There's sort of weird layout things that are slightly confusing to possibly some readers. I enjoy it. I mean, part of my background is involved in literary magazines and stuff like that, so I'm more in line with things like Senate.
Senate is very good. Like, I know they're only 2 issues deep, but
yeah,
that feels it feels special. So yeah. I'm glad you brought them up, because I felt worried about mentioning them, because it's almost like they are they're aiming for the same market, and
not really. I don't think so. I mean, there's no newsstand presence. We're definitely more consumer focused, because we have all the reviews, and obviously Dan's great. Dan writes in the magazine, 3 or 4 pages a month. So, and in fact, Dan has just in the newest issue, we've got a review of the new Back to the Future game, and so he's obviously, being the contributing editor to Empire magazine, he's the chap who might get first dibs on the film games.
So here's a copy of Jaws. Here's a copy of Back to the Future. The other Back to the Future.
Yeah. I mean,
I think Back to the Future games.
So yes, I mean, Senate's a lovely mag. I enjoy it. I enjoy it also because a lot of the writers in there also write for me, so it's it's like seeing your friends, which might be a slight overreach for them. They might all feel very uncomfortable now, but it's like seeing your friends writing more nice things, and I like that. So there's room enough for all of us in this world of games journalism, I think.
I think so. For folks who are watching, by the way, I need to do a weird plug for a completely different magazine, but it's not available in the UK. New issue of Plato. It's got an interview with me in it.
Sorry, that is a games magazine, though?
Yeah, so this is French language. I believe it's available in France and Belgium. But myself and Rory were interviewed for a couple of months ago, and this just dropped through the door yesterday. It was just sort of like,
yeah,
I'm known. I can't read it very well, but
yes, a minor setback.
My very, very basic GCSE level French will.
Did you do the interview in French?
A little bit of it. A little bit of it. A very little.
Renaissance man. That's what we've got here.
3 or 4 questions. The rest of it was in English, because the delightful interviewer couldn't come up with the right words in English. So I said, okay, well, just give me the questions in French and I'll answer them as best I can. But I did get my friend to actually go through my French and check my work before I sent the responses back. Because just in case I didn't want to send anything horrifyingly offensive or incorrect.
Suddenly you're a wanted man in France, but you're not sure why.
Yeah. It's him. Oh, it's him. Stay away from him. He's a bad man. What do you want to see? What would you like to do in Tabletop Gaming Magazine that you can't quite do yet? Like, obviously under your sort of like your stewardship as editor, you are the leader. What would you like to do?
The truth of the matter is that I've got this private, now public goal of we've never reviewed more than 30 games in a magazine. So I would like to get to a point where we can casually be dropping 30 plus reviews a month. Obviously, that requires the good people who make board games to continue to do so, and there not to be a global pandemic.
I hear that's mildly problematic for the production.
That's been mildly problematic, yeah. So that's something I think the reviews are the most important part of the magazine, and reader surveys that we've done in the past of people, the thing that makes people buy games and the thing that makes people go up to members of the team at shows and say, "You've cost me so much money because I bought loads of games because of your magazine."
Like, sad face.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's up there with the Isaac Childress's complaint compliment of people coming up to him and saying, "You took my dining table away from me." So we ate on our laps for 2 months because of Gloomhaven. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. I would like to just really get more reviews in there. I think they're kind of the lifeblood of it, and that's the big thing for me. And I want to approach the way people play games more. So I'd like to introduce things like maybe a column on solo gaming, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff I want to head towards. We stuff I've introduced in the magazine has been things like the Cardboard Manifesto, which is a absolute straight opinion column where you can do any, our writers and indeed some designers, if they wish, are more than welcome to drop whatever fire they want to, or die on whatever small hill they've decided. So I've actually
all hearing the phrase "drop whatever fire." Good
yes,
Lord.
I know.
Come with your beef, my friends.
Absolutely. Richard Johnson Parks are who I refer to as our tame role-playing game writer, which he objects to because he's wild and free. He wrote the very controversial no dice column in there, which was maybe we don't need dice for role-playing games, which it's actually a fine, interesting opinion to have. But it feels vaguely sacrilegious.
I mean, coming from a company that published Untold Adventures Await, which admittedly it comes with a set of story cubes, but it has no sort of like dice in it. So I'm here for the heresy. That's fine.
Yeah. Cards are nice as well. And also it's where if you like Owen Duffy, he wrote us a column on diversity in gaming, which is it's the long used and often used joke, which there's more people who called Werner who have won the Spiel des Jahres than there are women. So we've got a little way to go in terms of representation. But we're maybe not the worst industry. I'm not sure, but
we can always do better.
Absolutely,
everybody can always do better. That's right. Well, before we wrap up, we did want to do a quick bit about RPGs, because you did mention earlier on that you are relatively again new to the wonderful world of RPGs. But you've been diving in.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing?
The first RPG I played properly was the Alien RPG.
Okay.
And I played mostly in the cinematic mode, just because of time constraints mainly. And it's fabulous. Just people dying all the time. Everything's set.
Is it just an alien versus people, or is there?
No,
I have no idea.
No. I mean, it's wonderful. There's things like you can describe to your players how thick the air is with something, and they'll still take their space helmets off. They'll still get infected, and so. So there's a lot of the amount of atmosphere in the game is really, really good. There's actually bits in it. There's actually a joke in the this is going to spoil part of this. in the core book, you get a free cinematic scenario, and called Chariot of the Gods, if I remember rightly. There's kind of a joke in that, which is basically if the players have turned the lights on, they see a coat rack. If not, here's a description for what they think they see, which is obviously a horrible monster. The other game I have to talk about, because it's the RPG that's become our campaign game amongst our friends, is Morkborg, which Morkborg is I don't have it here because it's downstairs with my RPG stuff for Zoom calls. So it's a art punk blackened art punk RPG by like Stockholm Cartel guys.
Okay.
And if you were interested in the recent Dissident Whispers RPG bundle that they did for Black Lives Matter bail funds, there's loads of new information there. What it is a brutal and simple RPG where players do most of the rolling. So there's no like the monster has to roll for things. There's hardly any hidden rolls. It's highly narrative. It's in a world where at the beginning of every day you need to roll a dice and work out whether the apocalypse is coming one more tick that day. So and if it is, you roll on a separate table that tells you something about the world that has changed. For example, the trees might decide to start attacking people, or a mist rises from the swamplands, or whatever it is. And it's just a but it's 66 pages long. Yeah, okay. It's wild, gothy, metally nonsense.
And it's hang on, spelled
Morkborg. Yeah, so Mork like pork, but with an M, and then Borg, as in
Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah, yeah. And I can't recommend that highly enough. You definitely should get. You should absolutely get a copy.
Even as just something to read. I
think you should Google it right now, and just have a look at and then we can all see your reaction on screen to seeing the kind of art that's in it, and it's OSR, but it's not in like a bad, gross way or anything like that. It's not Lamentations of Flame Princess. There's no weirdness about it. It's very decent people. There's no like you don't have to feel weird about it or anything.
I'm getting a Cave Evil vibe off of it.
Yes, there we go. Yeah. I mean, they're not that far apart. Well, obviously they are in terms of actual location, but yes, Cave Evil and Morkborg are probably bedfellows in some way.
That looks delightful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna come in with. So actually, Jos has jumped in to say, the art is awesome.
Yeah, there we go. It's wonderful.
Like looking at it, you can really sort of like get the vibe about what the game is like, I think.
Yeah, and it's the game I've played most extensively now, and it, which is weird. I play more of this than I've played D&D, so which is just a bizarre thing to say. I'm
here for it. Like with so many people sort of like getting into the worlds of role-playing games, like D&D is always sort of like the go-to. Hey, you should play this because it's what everybody plays, and it's just sort of like, well, there's also thousands of other things out there. So there was the itch.io bundle that came, like 1,500 different things on it. There's a whole bunch of like really lovely sort of like
Troik is in there, I think.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Like so many fantastic little games in there. Even something like Fiasco, the board game version of which is coming out, I think it's meant to be later this year. That might be pushed back to early next, I think. Yeah. But with the world as it is. But my recommendation is always the Worldwide Wrestling role-playing game, because it's beautiful. There's no DM. When you want to seize control of the game, you seize control of the game. So not only are you wrestling in matches and rolling dice off against each other to sort of like see if your moves and stuff come off, you also build the federation around the whole thing, around the whole the matches. My favorite one we played was my friend Emma was sort of like leading the game. She designed a wrestling federation that would only wrestle on cruise ships.
Excellent.
So the matches could only take place. No, because if you're in international waters, you can get away with so much more. And a friend of mine, Jodie, she had a character called Dave Bloodfist, who was basically like the John Cena, like the full-on American patriot. But before every match, he would dip his hand into a bucket of broken glass and just scream "Bloodfist is America," and that is what RPGs are all about, my friends.
I think it actually is. In my experience, I mean, okay, so everyone should play D&D at some point, but you shouldn't only play D&D. There's so much out there.
Yeah, there's so many good things. Even like sort of like solo journaling games.
Yeah, Ironsworn. We did a review of that and a little interview in a couple of issues ago, and that's a really interesting, like, solo RPG, which sounds bizarre until you like have a look at it and you're like, oh, actually, this is really smart, you know.
Yeah. It's all good. That's cool. Well, man, I think we should probably wrap it up because we normally sort of like go between 8:15. But Chris, I would like to thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you to the folks who are watching, and thank you to the folks who are watching afterwards as well, because of course this is going to be up on YouTube. If people want to hunt you down, but in a positive way, not like in the most dangerous game, but just the nice games, how can they do so?
Okay, so the best way to do it is to go to tabletopgaming.co.uk, and then if you want like a picture of me to come through your letterbox once a month, the best thing to do is to go into the store tab and then to the subscriptions offers tab, which we have lots of at the moment, and subscribe, and then you'll see a picture of me every month through your letterbox, and lots of words about games as well, which might be
they just happen to be attached on subsequent pages.
I believe our Twitter is Tabletop Gaming Mag.
I'm gonna check that. I think it's just Tabletop Mag.
Oh, is it? Hold on.
Hang on. Tabletop Mag. There you go.
Tabletop Mag. Yeah, my apologies. And then Instagram is the devilish tabletop_gaming_magazine, I believe. Cool. We've got a Twitch channel now as well, where I stream things. I sometimes paint things. We're running a small
braver than I.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point. It's called Chris Can't Paint, and so what it is I take a much loved model and ruin it by applying the wrong colors and stuff like that. I'd like to in the future do something where chat can provide me a like source image or a reference image, and it doesn't have to be anything related to it at all. So when I get around to painting the giant froghemoth thing from D&D, if you send me a picture of a postbox, I guess it's going to be a red one, and we'll attempt to do. It's kind of my attempt to be the Bob Ross of
just chill
model painting. Yeah, we're just going to chill out. I will say things like, "Shall we paint this bit gold?" And then 20 seconds later, the chat says, "Absolutely, we must paint this bit gold," and then we do. It's nice. The other thing is we have a podcast on which
one of my sweet cat children has decided to join in after shouting outside. Podcast. Yes, podcast is new. It only started weeks ago.
Yeah. So you can get it on your Apple or other fruit-based device or robot-based device or whatever you wish. It's on almost all services. It's on Spotify, it's on Stitcher and all that sort of stuff. And it is in-depth conversations with designers mostly and writers about a single subject, which we sort of meander around between and over and under. And then we get a top 5. So, for example, we have the top 5 messy games, which is a particular favorite of mine because we talk about the games where, again, they hog your table, they take over your life, and there's too many bits, and you love them still. Or we talk about RPGs that aren't D&D. We've got a whole episode on that, and recently talked to chaps about Undaunted. And today I recorded a podcast with Tristan Hall of Hall or Nothing. Gloomhaven, not Gloomhaven. Oh God, Gloom of Kilforth. Blimey.
Yep. Gloomhaven's the other one.
Yeah, the other Gloom. Well, actually, it's not the other Gloom because there's
there's
also Gloom.
Baker's Gloom. Yeah. Yeah, loads.
We had an extensive chat about solo games. We get his top 5 solo games. So if solo gaming is something based on the conversation we've had today, something you're interested in some way and you'd like to know more about and want to know kind of like why and how, it's a great one to jump into. So that'll be going up later in the week.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the latest issue is the one that's just above your head, which is the Mariposas cover. Yes.
There we are. Yes, I'm going to hold this up slightly. This is the Mariposas cover. So yes, this is this has got a nice section. If you're interested in like slightly older games that we maybe missed out on in the past, this is a very good one. We've also got reviews of Undaunted North Africa in here.
Nice.
Got Rurik, got the new Oceans game, which is the sort of sequel to Evolution for fans of that. Absolutely loads of stuff. I'm trying to remember what else we got into because it's been a whole month. Oh, and we did a really, 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 really good, and I say this as if I didn't write it, a really, really good interview with the makers of Tokyo Highway.
That'd be Iten, folks from Iten Games.
That's it, yes. Who always write their name with a lowercase I, which is interesting. But they talk about how Tokyo Highway is actually an attempt to make a game that doesn't need. They started from the concept of not wanting there to be a board and for it to be like football. So again, that could be played. Yeah, I know. So if you want to know how that attaches itself to a studio that is kind of known for its lovely conceptual games, then yeah, it's a great issue to pick up.
No. There you go. So yeah, available in your stores. Also available as online download as well.
Digital issues are particularly interesting if you like things like me asking Elizabeth Hargraves the question about the butterflies.
Cool.
Do they remember being caterpillars? We couldn't include the us laughing ourselves to death part in the actual interview somehow, so we had to add that as a recording. So there's lots of little extras you get if you buy digitally, and of course we are available in supermarkets and other places like newsagents and stuff like that. WH Smith's when they open.
If anything ever opens again.
Yeah, but subscribe. It's great. You get funny covers like this one.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, that's me. Sorry, I can't stop pitching.
That's all right. Pitching is fine. But for now, thank you all for joining us. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can get me personally at Idle Michael. The Hub Games Twitter is We Are Hub Games, and don't forget to visit wearehubgames.com as well for all of your game-related needs. And if you do have a copy of Flip Over Frog, keep an eye out because there will be some solo rules popping up pretty soon. And hey, they're pretty good if I say so myself. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. See you later.